Hey everybody, John here, obviously. And some of you might know, or might be vaguely aware, and some of you might be closely watching, the new Supreme Court Justice appointed by Orange Man Bad is right now being grilled and tortured by the Senate hearing to confirm or deny her access to be on the bench in the United States. But all of that is theater, because the Republicans have already got enough votes to vote her on, and there's not really a question of whether she's going to get put on the bench. The hearings they're holding are mostly theatrical. And the clip that I'm going to show you of the question, or at least one of the questions asked by Mazie Hirono of Amy Coney Barrett, that is arguably the most absurd, it's the most obscene of all the questions asked. And I'm going to play a clip of that question right now.
To ensure the fitness of nominees for a lifetime appointment to the federal bench or to any of the other positions for any of the committees on which they appear, I ask each nominee these two questions, and I will ask them of you. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator Hirono.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement related to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
And the reason I'm showing you this is not to comment on the absurdity of these proceedings or the absurdity of the ideas behind it, but because this question was asked in the U.S. Senate, which is presumably, or at least in theory, a place of prestige and integrity, and I know you're laughing. That's still the patina that the Senate has, though, even though they have largely disgraced themselves. But because this question was asked in this prestigious, somewhat respectable forum, it's my prediction that lesser individuals than a senator, presumably in a place of employment where you might be applying for work, or you might be applying in a university to get into an academic program, or applying for an internship, or applying at a law school or something like that, that people are going to feel emboldened to ask some version of this question, possibly asking this question of you, and it's worth a little bit of discussion here. Because when this question is asked, as I think it's going to be asked all across the United States and Canada and other places, it's not really a question. It's not, it's structured like a question. Have you ever been accused of blah, blah, blah? Have you ever misbehaved in the following ways? That's not really a question, it's actually an accusation disguising itself as a question. The first thing to understand is that anybody who asks you such a question as this is demonstrating that they feel, whether justified or not, that they have a level of power over you, that they can pin you like an insect to the corkboard and put you under glass and shine a bright light on you and torture you psychologically. Because that's what this question is. It's a form of accusation and abuse. So it's a demonstration of power to even ask this question. The next thing to understand from this question is, well, that it's not really a question, it's an accusation. So if you have a relationship of power, which everybody does in their place of employment, you have a boss, you have a manager, that your boss probably has a boss, and the boss has another boss, and you might have people that you're in charge of, who you're their boss, and so on and so forth. All of these hierarchical relationships in the employment and in the academic and the institutional world, where we all live our lives and have relations with other people, all of these power and hierarchical relationships have trust within them. Like, the guy I work for has power over me, and he trusts me to some degree because he's employing me, and I trust him to some degree because I allow him to employ me. I continue to go to work. I continue to do what I'm told. I trust that there's not a scheme of knives behind the scenes waiting for me around every turn. So power and hierarchical relationships in employment, in academic institutions and elsewhere, have built into them trust. There has to be trust in them, otherwise they are simply abusive relationships. They're dysfunctional and poisonous if you don't have trust in them. So this question, which is actually an accusation disguised as a question, asked by Mazie Hirono, and let's call it Hirono's question, in the tradition of Cicero's question, when it is asked, it evaporates the trust. If there is trust in that relationship, it is gone because it's a malicious, accusatory, and destructive, torturous question to ask. It's not really a question, it's just an accusation disguised as such. And that informs how you might respond to it as a question, rather than treating it as a straightforwardly asked question that you should answer in a straightforward manner. So what's really being asked is, will you allow me, the question is, will you allow me to torture you with an accusation, a life-destroying accusation? That's really what the question is. So you don't have to answer it in those words, but you can say, well, you know, I've been applying for this job, or I've been working in this company, or I've been, you know, responding to you as my student advisor, whatever the actual hierarchical relationship is. You could say, well, now that you've asked that question, why do you still think that we have a functional relationship, that I'm going to continue to work for you, treat you with respect, continue to come here every day at 9 and leave at 5? That question destroys the relationship, and if it's ever asked for you, realize that that relationship is over and you need to leave, because the environment has become a poisonous, toxic, and abusive one as soon as that question is asked. And if you're asked this question in a job interview, that's the signal for you to get up and leave. Now, you don't have to be mean and theatrical and you know, make a big scene, but understand, once this question is asked, and it's going to be asked of some of you, because it was asked in the US Senate, so people are going to be emboldened to ask it. But it signals that the dynamic is toxic and poisonous, and so when you hear it, that's your signal to leave. Anyway, thanks very much for listening. Thanks for all the people helping support the channel through Subscribestar and Patreon. And as always, have a lovely, lovely day.